Hello, folks. I am Alan for today's news. I will be reading and speaking about world news, interesting news to keep you entertained, and news to keep you informed. What I got for you here first is 4 U.S. Citizens kidnapped by armed men at the crossing border into Mexico, FBI says. 4 American citizens are missing after being assaulted and kidnapped from a vehicle by unidentified armed men in Mexico, the FBI said in a statement. The Americans came under gunfire from the men shortly after crossing the border on Friday through the city of Matamoros, I guess it is. Anyway, across from Brownsville, Texas. The victim crossed into Mexico driving a white minivan with North Carolina license plates. The FBI said shortly after the gunmen fired upon the passengers in the vehicle, and the 4 Americans were placed in another vehicle and taken from the scene by the men. I'm going to play this video for you. A little over 2 minutes long.
Right now, the FBI is offering a $50,000 reward. This is for the return of 4 Americans kidnapped in Mexico. So that kidnapping happened on Friday. A car full of U.S. citizens drove into the border city of Matamoros, Mexico. You see it there on the map. It's just southeast of McAllen, Texas.
CNN correspondent Rosa Flores, she's in Houston now covering the story. Rosa, you're familiar with this area of the country. What more do we know about the circumstances? What kind of groups are operating there? Do we have any idea at this point?
You know, right now the FBI is saying very little. Their statement only saying that this happened on Friday and that these 4 U.S. citizens crossed the border from Brownsville, Texas into Matamoros, Tamaulipas, which is just south of where I am, just south of the Rio Grande Valley of South Texas. Now, according to the FBI, these 4 individuals were driving a white minivan with North Carolina license plates. And shortly after they crossed into Matamoros, Mexico, that's when they were fired upon by an unidentified individual. And shortly thereafter, the 4 U.S. citizens were taken from the scene by armed individuals. Now, the FBI says that is asking for the public's help in identifying these suspects and that there is a $50,000 reward for information that leads to an arrest. The American citizens have not been identified, and the FBI does say that they're working with their federal and local law enforcement partners in Mexico. Now, about Matamoros and about this area, Matamoros is in the Mexican state of Tamaulipas. The U.S. Department of State has Tamaulipas on its do not travel list for U.S. citizens because U.S. citizens have been victims of crime and kidnapping. And so, Erica and Jim, this area is known for this. Cartels operate there. One of the reasons why I cover this in this area is because a lot of the migrants that we cover when we cover the border end up in these areas, in these very dangerous conditions. And so right now, of course, the FBI focusing on these 4 U.S. citizens. We do not have the identities of these U.S. citizens again, but the FBI is investigating and trying to get more information.
So, if they don't want people from the U.S. to enter there, why do they let them enter there? And it says down here too, somewhere, they went down to get medicine. Is it cheaper down there? Is it easier to get, or is it going down there to get drugs, and that's why they got in trouble? I don't know. These are the questions that got to be answered. Anyway, what I got for you next is from the New York Times. Protester damaged vehicles at a site of New York Police Center in Atlanta. Hundreds of activists breached the site of a proposed police and fire training center in Atlanta's wooded area outskirts on Sunday, burning police and construction vehicles in the trailer and setting off fireworks at officers stationed nearby. The destruction occurred on the second day of what is supposed to be a week-long series of demonstrations to protest what the activists have derided as Cop City, a planned 85-acre campus owned by the city. The complex would include classrooms, an amphitheater, and spaces where law enforcement officers can simulate shootouts and high-speed chases, and firefighters can learn to drive fire trucks in battle blazes. It was not immediately clear whether anyone was injured. Tensions have escalated between police officers and protesters over the forested area in recent months. Environmentalist advocates want the woods, which span over 1,000 acres, preserved as one of the region's most significant green spaces. Other activists have concern that the development of the training site will enable the increased militarization of local police force. Those opposed to the training center began organizing against the complex shortly after the Atlanta City Council authorized it in 2021. It should be a state forest, what it should be, not a military place for cops, to take control over people. I'm glad these protesters are doing this. We can't let the government push us around. We got to take control. Okay, here's one here. It says, from ABC News, 3 killed and 1 hurt in mass shooting. Victim's 17-year-old boyfriend in custody. A 17-year-old boy in custody after alleged shot 4 people, including a girl he was dating, in a home invasion in Bolingbrook, Illinois, according to police. That's near Chicago. 3 other victims were killed in the Sunday mass shooting. Bolingbrook police said they were identified as 40-year-old, an unidentified girl, and a 17-year-old. 34-year-old woman was shot, survived, and is stable condition. The sole suspect, a 17-year-old boy who was dating Samia, I guess it is, was quickly identified and taken into custody Sunday night, police said. He has not yet been formally charged. A 3-year-old boy and a 14-year-old boy were also inside the home Sunday night, but was not hurt. Anyway, everything I read will be in my description box, like always. Here's something from Fox News. BidenCash criminal market releases over 2 million credit card numbers free for the taking. Okay, we're going to hear what this says here.
Has leaked more than 2 million stolen debit and credit card numbers for free, along with personal data behind each card. You could be one of those people. Nearly half of those cards were issued in the United States. So how can you find out if your information was compromised? We've called into the big studio cyber guy, Kurt, with us today. Kurt, explain who BidenCash is.
Steve, good morning.
Openers.
Yeah, we often don't get the identity of these dark web sites, but this is a fairly popular site. It's 1 year old, and this was a thing that they did to celebrate their 1 year anniversary. Is say give out 2 million credit cards that they have scammed, stolen, and thieved away from people, and a vast majority of them are from Americans.
Right.
30% of the cards already checked are valid cards. So this could be a card that you have in your possession that's still active and you haven't reported it.
Okay, so that's scary. And on the dark web, that's all they do is they trade around our information. If somebody's watching and they want to make sure that they are not impacted, you've got some tips.
I mean, one of the things is our credit cards are going to be exposed on an ongoing basis. It's only getting worse.
Right.
There's only more of this type of activity. So it really helps out to, number one, the obvious is check your credit card statement. I think I'm really thorough when I do it, but I'm not as thorough as I think I am. So what I do is I sign up for credit card alerts, and many credit card companies offer those via their app or on their website, or you can call them and get a telephone alert. And what that'll do is you can set some parameters for many of the companies that say, hey, if I get a charge that's, say, out of this country, I'd like to know about it.
Sure.
Or if there's something over $400, please tell me.
Right.
So that's the number one thing you could do. And then also, just simply having the idea of who's spending what in the family on your credit cards. And then if you are that person like me that has that auto pay feature set up on your credit card, by all means, stop each month, at least every 2 months, and go through those credit card statements to know what's going on.
That's a great idea. Also, you suggest install strong antivirus protection.
I mean, that's the thing that's going to help us.
That protects your computer. How does it protect your identity?
Well, and our devices. So the way they get our credit card numbers is through phishing attempts and many other tricks that they're playing on us where we don't even know it's happened. For example, you could get pushed by text, hey, your order is running late from such and such, and you think like, wait, did I even order from that? Well, let me see. Click, boom. Now you're exposed to malware or some nefarious link that takes you into revealing more information about yourself. You think you're just checking on the shipment status of an order. Meanwhile, they've just got you.
Ultimately, this comes down to identity theft, and you can buy protection.
I mean, you see the commercials out there. We reviewed a lot of them just to see which ones are the best at the website. And it could be something that's really worthwhile. That way, you don't have to be the hawk sitting there constantly on guard against this. And what identity theft companies will do is they'll monitor to see if your social security number or other personal identifiable information ends up outside on the dark web in those juicy spots where you know you got trouble when it hits there.
I opened the mail yesterday, and one of my kids was denied a credit card for an application that they did not apply for.
Which happens all of the time. They're getting smarter, and believe me, with this whole ChatGPT AI that's been introduced to the world, crooks are using it just as easily as good people. So we're getting targeted more in a more crafty way, and they learn about us to find out what it is that gets us to click into the bad stuff.
So what you need to do, you need to protect yourself. Go to cyberguy.com, because that's the cyber guy.
Anyway, I always check my statements, my credit card, my bank and stuff, and I got stuff set up. So if anything comes out, it'll show up on my phone. And, these big companies, they have data breaches and stuff. And then I get these 2 years free Black Web, where they search the Black Web for my information and let me know what's out there. I got antivirus, anti-malware on my computer. And I also use a VPN as much as possible, so I can put myself in another country if I want, or somewhere else in the United States. Anyway, this is what they're showing here. New big CC leak, BidenCash. It's 1 year old. This is what they're advertising here. And the rest of this will be in my description box if you want to read more about it. And what I got from you here from AP Press. Kim's sister warns North Korea ready to act against the U.S. and South Korea. The influential sister of the North Korean leader warned Tuesday that the country is ready to take quick, overwhelming action against the U.S. and South Korea as the allies expand their regular military drills. Kim Il-jong, whatever, statement came in a day after the United States flew a nuclear-capable B-52 bomber to the Korean Peninsula for a joint drill with South Korean warplanes. The U.S. and South Korean militaries are also preparing to revive their largest field exercise later this month. And you can read the rest of this in my description box there. And this will be the last one I'm going to read to you here. This from ASUSA. U.S. predicts a date that China will invade Taiwan. The international media spotlight remained focused on the United States and China, who have recently intervened in it directly with the conflict between Russia and Ukraine, and now using Taiwan as a proxy for hostilities. The dispute between Taiwan and China stems from a nationalist conflict, with both claiming the island as part of their territory. It says here, North Korea has ordered his military to be ready to conduct an invasion in Taiwan in 2027. So not only we got worried about Ukraine and Russia, we got to worry about China and Taiwan, and then we got to worry about North and South Korea. And I know Russia is trying to be friendly with a lot of African people. They're giving them fertilizer, a lot of it. So we got a lot going on in the news. But that's what I got for you today, folks. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and come back once in a while. I haven't been on for a while. If I come up with something more interesting, I will. And thanks for watching. Later.